Hi there YouTube, welcome back to the gear shed. Hopefully you can hear me today. It's a bit windy outside, we're back in the garden. We're going to do just a little recap of this Luxe hexpeak f6e winter teepee tent that I think is backpacking light sell. Now if you watch my previous videos regarding this tent, I took it to Cad Idris, also the Elan Valley. Not overly happy with it, so I had a few issues with it. We'll walk through a few of the things I've done to hopefully address those, and we'll just talk about this sort of teepee shape in general and what I've learnt from it. So first things first, we had a lot of condensation, huge amounts of condensation when I used it. Much so that I got my down quilt completely wet, which is the first time in my history that I've got a down item that wet, and it wasn't through rain, it was just through the sheer level of condensation. It wasn't massively cold, we did have snow, but it was sort of a bit of the typical English weather, I suppose. So I tried looking at trying to address the condensation issues, and one of the biggest things I found is when I initially got this tent, it had these little storm flaps, snow flaps on them, which I wanted, obviously want to take it somewhere when it's snowing. I can put snow on there and just actually anchor it down a bit more. They had a little bungee, which I've since taken off, that went up onto here with a clip. It was supposed to hold the snow flaps up out of the way, but the problem with that is it didn't actually work particularly well. So what I've done is actually sewn along the perimeter of the tent some Velcro, which also means that I can also use these center points a bit easier, because what was happening is, because it was only held at both ends, the snow flap would just sort of flop down, you couldn't get a peg in. And so Velcro just keeps it up out of the ground. I've rolled it into the tent, so we shouldn't get any water accumulating on the actual flap itself. So hopefully that'll allow a little bit more airflow up underneath the tent. So we'll see how that goes. It just gets the flap up out of the way, which is quite good. The other thing I had issues with was the pole that I was using for it. I had a set of Black Diamond trail poles. I keep calling them pros for some reason. Trail poles, and they weren't the most sturdiest of trekking pole. So because this thing relies on basically the pole, your trekking poles, for all its structural integrity, it was kind of imperative you get something that's got a bit of strength to it. So what I've done is gone over to a set of Luxe kumbus, which are a thicker diameter pole. They are quite a bit heavier than the trails, so I've sacrificed a bit of weight there for durability. They're still a flick lock style, I think, or they call them speed lock or something, but they're a lot stiffer. I found them a lot stiffer when I was actually using them. We don't have the pole moving as much. But the only downside is the backpacking light adapter that you can buy. This little aluminium adapter that's links your two trekking poles. What you do is take the bottom section off and put this guy in, and it makes one continuous pole. It doesn't fit because it's a smaller diameter. So what I've done to sort of cut right out, it's a bit untested, but we'll see how we go, is a section of carbon fibre tubing. 14mm is the size for these bottom sections. That fits in perfectly. It's a nice snug fit. This one's actually 500mm long, so it's half a metre long, so it's quite a fair bit into the pole, so it adds quite a bit of structural integrity to it. It's 3K wrapped carbon, so we'll see. It's fairly strong. Wouldn't think it's going to fail, but we'll see how we go. Obviously have to take spare section. See how we go the first couple of times we've taken it out in winter time. Right, so with that, what also I found with that is I can actually tension the tent better, because what was happening with the Trail Kings is the trail poles is whenever I was pulling them up, they were actually bending under the weight. I couldn't actually get enough tension up on the tent, so it was kind of like the wrong pole for that one. Also, if you watched any of the latest reviews I've done, the 3F's ultralight winter inner, which I am now put up in here for the first time, so you get an idea of fit. This is substantially lighter than the hexpeak version. The hexpeak version is 700 grams. This is 350 thereabouts, depending on what day of the week you weigh it. It fits in here very well. Probably the downside with it, it's not the same shape as the hexpeak one. So at the back here, let's go across the back, got quite a bit of a gap in here, which you could probably put your pack or something in. Just keep it out of the way. The hexpeak one is bigger, so that's probably where most of the weight difference comes from. And it also, the hexpeak one comes out like this, so it covers in here. But two things, obviously this is lighter, which is what I was after. And also there's a lot more gap between the inner and the outer, which is also an advantage, because what was happening with the hexpeak one is it was basically touching the inner outer, and no matter how much I was tensioning it, there wasn't a lot of gap between it. So let's jump in here and have a look. You would have seen this out of the frame. So a couple of downsides with this. Obviously it's smaller, so it's not quite as spacious as inside. It's a little bit harder to pitch, which I'll have to get round to sorting out. It's getting in here at the right angle, because it's a slightly different shape as well. But overall, I'm liking the weight difference. That's a big plus for any of the bugs that be kicking around in the UK. The other downside it does have the other way around in door wise. So the door of the hexpeak in is on that side, on the right hand side of the pole. This is on the left hand side of the pole. It's not going to be that much of a deal. You still have a lot of massive amount of room in this vestibule. It's still enormous. But we're looking at 350 grams less weight now, which is an advantage, plus maybe the weight difference with the carbon fibre extension against this aluminium one. This aluminium one is probably going to be, it's pretty thick butty alloy, so it's probably going to be a lot stronger, but we'll see. So yeah, let's lay down in here. I mean, it's not enormously spacious, but it doesn't touch the inner and the outer. The material seems to be a lot more breathable. It's lighter, it's more compact. The quality is exceptional for the price. I think I paid about £40, less than £40 for this. I think it was like 30 odd pounds I paid for it. And the quality is better than the hexpeak inner, and they're selling the hexpeak inner for, I think it's nearly 70 odd pounds. So winning there. Yeah, so let's hope this has sorted out some of the condensation problems. The other thing I'm going to do is this vestibule in here. I need to find a piece of like super lightweight, like polycro or maybe a space blanket or something that I can rig up to actually line this floor. Because the other thing I think is happening as well is because this has such a massive, it covers a massive area of this tent. It's I keep saying it, you just can't really show you on the video. It's very difficult to give you an idea of scale. So this floor in here, I think what's happening is because it's it's covering this massive area, you're getting a lot of moisture coming out of the ground at night, which is obviously going up and condensating inside of the tent, which in the past has been coming down, actually basically just clinging onto this inner and causing your bag to get wet, essentially. I suppose it was a bit of an eye-opener just coming back from the Tour de Mont Blanc as well, with my little Axeman tent, which has the mesh in it, just how the condensation was controlled in that tent, and also the differences between sticking it on just a piece of dirt ground in the forest compared to grass, how much the differences in condensations were. The last couple of nights in Chamonix, we were just on dirt and we had no condensation inside the flies, so that got me thinking on that one. Yeah, so but overall, yeah, we need to do a bit more experimentation in winter time to see how it is. Pros and cons. I don't think the build quality of this hexpeak is that good when you're comparing it with the stuff that supposedly comes from AliExpress, which is dirt cheap. I've just, as I put this up, one of the zippers have actually come off the end of the zipper tape for the door, which is a bit of a problem, which I'll have to shove that back on when I get a chance. And just kind of overall, it's, you know, when you compare it to these Chinese things, I mean, these are obviously made, the hexpeak's obviously made in China as well, but buying them straight from the Chinese companies, the quality to price differential is quite large, actually. I mean, thinking that some of these TP tents you get from China are in the £50 to £60 range. Obviously they're going to be smaller than this, but the quality, if it's anything like this 3Fs, it will be well worth the money and exceed the hexpeak for quality. Well, something else. So overall, with the TP10, mixed bag. I like the room. The room is very much there. I think getting the pole sorted will help with the wind durability of it. So the first time, obviously the first time I used it with the trail poles, wasn't impressed by the wind shedding ability of it. Very saggy, very flappy, which I thought, well, it might be a bit flappy, but with the pole it was a bit rubbish for stability. The other thing is pitching it in the UK is a bit hit or miss, because it's trying to find a large enough campsite or pitching site to put it on if you're just wild, as people say, wild camping. Don't like that term. Especially if it's somewhere like the Brecon Beacons or somewhere like that where it's got a lot of grass and stuff that's not, you know, flat mown campground. It can be difficult to find a flat spot. Also, you do kind of need a flat spot. It doesn't pitch perfectly, and you'll get it sagging and bagging if it's not flat. So again, temperamental. So I think when we went to the Eland Valley, I was actually a little bit nervous about finding a spot to pitch it. I was thinking that it was going to be you start get campsite stress. So yeah, sort of pros and cons with that. Yeah, so those are sort of the cons. And also it's heavy. It's quite still it's a massive. I mean, as I said, you can fit probably 3 people in here without the inner in. So yeah, it's probably light for its size. You know, I'm comparing it to one-man tents, and this isn't really technically a one-man tent. I mean, it's a one-man tent with this inner in it, but you could easily get 2 people in here without much problem at all, with room to move. So yeah, I mean, with this inner, the outer is, I think it's about 1.1 kilos. So you're looking at 1.5 before you add pegs. Probably just on 1.5, which for the size of it, it's still quite reasonable, I suppose. Yeah. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. We'll be taking this out and doing a few more trips. But this is really my winter tent, so I'm not really going to be taking it out until more Christmas time. Yeah, so there's my thoughts on it. That's the Luxe Outdoor hexpeak f6e. Thoughts, ideas. Yeah, some of the things you can do. I definitely think having the flaps up creates a lot more airflow underneath the tent, so hence keeping it a bit more condensation free would be nice. And this 3Fs inner, I would highly recommend. It is a fantastic piece of kit, very well made, certainly big enough, fits in here alright. So there. Alrighty, so stay tuned, remember to subscribe, more videos on the way, and I'll see you guys later.